Good evening, Bill Keneally with you here at Weather Center, and we continue to watch the snow fly in portions of New York State. You folks in Buffalo are well versed in that now. For the month of January, mind you, 53 inches of snow in Buffalo. Downstate, very paltry amounts, but we may be making up for that overnight tonight around the New York City area. More on that momentarily. First of all, though, let's take a look and see what's going on in Cincinnati, Ohio. Icing a problem in the Ohio Valley today. Temperatures are falling further now. 27 degrees at this hour at the greater Cincinnati airport. Freezing rain, and the forecast calls for more of that overnight tonight. Take it easy on the sidewalks. The secondary roadways are already icy, and we were milder very early today, so some of the primary arteries held up well for the evening rush hour, but they will be getting icy as the night ensues, especially on the Ohio side of the Ohio River. All right, there's your depiction, snow and ice in a lot of the Buckeye State. And again, I want to emphasize the source of this is very cold Arctic air up in this area. There's a big, strong high right there above the dash lines. And once again, those that high pressure area pumping that cold air southbound now. We're getting very cold air. When I say very cold, cold enough air, we think to cause problems in the morning in Philadelphia and even around Baltimore and D.C., where things are pretty mild now. Do not feel like it's going to have any staying power. Check out the numbers, 24 in Beantown and 4 above now at Albany, New York, 7 in Rochester. Picture that high back over here in Ontario now. And once again, that high is going to bring with it chances of more cold air to spill down overnight tonight. And the wind is blowing tonight, folks, so there's going to be some problems with some pretty nasty wind chills. Matter of fact, let's show you those wind chills now. Feels like 25 below in Bangor, 25 below is how it feels in Rochester, 4 above in the New York City area. And now we have moisture overrunning this cold foundation of air, so problems galore as the night ensues, and especially for tomorrow morning. And because of the fact that the nasty rush hour is looking like a reality tomorrow, we have a couple of crews in place. One in the New York City area up in Westchester County, that is Mike Seidel by Tarrytown. The other is Jeff Morrow, Jeff a little north and west of Philadelphia and King of Prussia. Let's go to Mike now. Mike has been in the thick of things a little longer. And now, Mike, the cold enough air is there, and now the moisture, unfortunately, is starting to move on in.
And, Bill, we started off with some freezing rain about an hour or so ago. Now it's basically all sleet. I want to show you what's happened so far. You know, we often talk about the elevated surfaces and the metal surfaces freezing up fast. Well, there's this metal plate here, and as you can see, there's a pretty decent accumulation of sleet. But below that is that layer of ice, which fell earlier. The rain fell and froze on contact. And here on my rubber boots, you can see it's very, very slippery. And remember, your car tires are made out of rubber, so you got to take it easy, especially on the elevated surfaces. They've dropped the speed limit here on the Tappan Zee Bridge to 45 miles an hour as we check out the traffic heading across the Hudson River. We're out here in Westchester County where it's a little bit colder and there's going to be a little bit more snow. In fact, we're forecasting 4 to 8 inches of snow from this storm. It will change over to snow late tonight. In the city, 2 to 4 inches of snow. And then, unfortunately, before it ends, it's going to change back to freezing rain tomorrow night. First along the coast in New York City, Midtown, and then as we work ourselves through Friday morning, it will gradually warm up, but it's going to be a gradual warm up to and above freezing sometime on Friday out here in Westchester and Rockland counties. So if you're in suburbia, time to get the shovels out, even in the city, enough to shovel off the sidewalks tomorrow, and a really, really treacherous commute tomorrow going into work and coming home, and again on Friday. We will certainly keep you updated from our vantage point here just north of the city. Now let's go back to Bill.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike Seidel in Tarrytown, New York. And as Mike said, even the city is going to see snow and sleet before the gradual change over to freezing rain and hopefully rain coming up on Friday. Let's take it down the pike a little bit, the Jersey Pike, that is, into the King of Prussia area out there northwest of Philadelphia. And for more on what's happening now and what we can surmise later on tonight and tomorrow morning, let's talk to Jeff Morrow. Good evening, Jeff.
Oh, good evening, Bill. And we're starting off what will probably be a pretty miserable 24 hours to 36 hours here around Philadelphia and all of southeast Pennsylvania. We have some light rain starting to fall now. The temperature 38, 39 degrees and continuing to go down rather rapidly. Just about 3 hours ago, we were in the 50s here, but the Arctic front has gone through and the rain is now overrunning that cold dome of air. Fortunately, right now, it is still above freezing, but that is not going to last. The temperatures will continue to drop here, and we're going to start talking about some ice accumulation, and it could be a fairly major ice storm this is going to be a mess as we head on into the morning rush hour, whether you're traveling the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which we're at one of the toll booths right here where the Schuylkill Expressway comes on up into the Pennsylvania Turnpike, or whether you're traveling any of the other interstates, 95 on down in toward Philadelphia. It is going to be a mess, so just plan on that as you head off to work or school, or maybe you want to postpone that tomorrow morning. We'll keep you updated here live from northwest of Philadelphia out toward the King of Prussia, very near the King of Prussia Mall, as a matter of fact. Right now, let's get back to you, Bill.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff Marr, reporting from the King of Prussia area northwest of Philadelphia. And as Jeff mentioned, that Schuylkill Expressway can be very nasty. It is curvy and is hilly, and it is a narrow roadway. Get up early and check ahead before you venture out on that roadway. Well, I'm joined now by our winter weather specialist, Paul Kosin. And Paul, the worst scenario of all really playing out here. We have shallow enough cold air, even down, we think, later on tonight and tomorrow into Baltimore and Philadelphia. Maybe freezing rain and maybe snow on top of that?
For Philadelphia and Washington, I'm not thinking in terms of snow, but for New York and Boston, snow is real definite. Matter of fact, it's a likelihood.
All right, let's talk about what's happening on this radar scope now. We can roll this into motion for you, and we'll be able to see this scenario here. What we've done, Paul, you drew the 32-degree line thereabouts, and the frontal zone now is on top of Washington, D.C. How much farther south can that 32-degree air get before the rush hour tomorrow morning?
I think we're going to see a continued movement south, as we've seen all day long, of that 32-degree line. It should go through Philadelphia by sometime later this evening, probably about 10 o'clock this evening, and we'll probably even see it go through the Baltimore region sometime in middle of the night, and in Washington probably before morning.
Now, obviously, this is not rain falling north of that 32-degree line, but where do you differentiate between, say, the freezing rain and the snow there in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York State?
Well, it looks like we're seeing just north of Williamsport and south of Binghamton, it's probably some pretty good snows, maybe moderate, maybe even occasionally heavy snows. South of that, we're seeing more scattered precipitation. North of the 32, south of Williamsport, that's where it's going to be sleet and freezing rain. And south of that, basically from Philadelphia on south, it's all rain.
And Paul, look at all this action in the Tennessee Valley. There's plenty of moisture out here, just a veritable conveyor belt coming up over that cold layer.
Right, as a matter of fact, this area is redeveloping all the way across from northern Mississippi through Tennessee, western Kentucky, and southern Illinois. It's this moisture that's forming right now that will eventually be moving east towards the major metropolitan areas and give them the problems later tonight.
And speaking of that, the wintry travel, we've tweaked this a little bit, Paul, now. The Philadelphia area, Baltimore, maybe even D.C. could have problems there on the Capital Beltway in the morning because of freezing rain.
Right, I'm not all that concerned.
When you need